I want to approach this debate from a position of experience because I've seen this from many levels. User, volunteer, trustee, community councillor, a local councillor and leader of Stirling Council. So when we talk about community spaces, I'm not talking in theory. I'm speaking from the reality of trying to make them work. And the first thing I would say is this: if we're still thinking about community centres as we did in the 1960s and 1970s, then we've already fallen behind. Too often the model is a tired hall, underused, expensive to maintain and slowly declining. I saw that myself whilst leader of Stirling Council. One facility in my area was operating at around 8% capacity and heading towards closure. People chose not to use it, the building deteriorated and the cycle simply fed itself. This is what happens when we fail to maintain and also when we fail to adapt. Because this is not just about capital investment, it's about activity, purpose and making spaces people actually want to use. When we have been willing to think differently, we have seen what is possible. Take Braehead Community Garden in my constituency. What started as a project around growing fruit and vegetables and tackling food waste has become, in effect, an outdoor community centre covering around 2.5 acres. It brings people together, whether they're keen gardeners or, like me, simply enjoying being there without doing much gardening at all. But its success also shows that these spaces need ongoing support to be sustained. We see that same evolution in our libraries. In places like Bannockburn, Cowie and my local library, the wonderful Mayfield Centre, they have moved far beyond books. They are now hubs for technology, innovation and community life, offering everything from digital access and flexible workspaces to maker spaces and shared resources that reflect how people live today. We should be applying that same thinking to community centres. There are strong examples of this in my constituency. Facilities like the Barrwood, run by the Scouts, combine traditional indoor space with outdoor activity, woodland and even kayaking. That's what modern community infrastructure can look like. But here is the reality. Innovation at a local level can only go so far when the system above it is holding it back. Speaking as a former council leader, local government in Scotland has been consistently constrained by the Scottish Government. Funding is tight, flexibility is limited, and too often there is not just a lack of understanding, but an element of disdain for what is actually happening on the ground. We can see the consequences of that in Bannockburn Enterprise Hub, a council-owned building repurposed to support enterprise and community use, doing exactly what we should be encouraging. Yet under the current SNP Council in Stirling, staffing is being removed and replaced with a keyhole model, where issues are not picked up, not addressed, and frankly, not taken seriously. This is not how you sustain a community asset. This is how you let it decline. And that brings us to a bigger point. We still treat these services as non-statutory, optional extras that can be cut when budgets are tight. But they are not optional. They are preventative. They support well-being. They hold communities together. So perhaps it's time we said that clearly and acted on it. The role these spaces play in terms of addressing issues around mental health, community cohesion and resilience could be formally recognised. These spaces are not an added extra, they are fundamental to the coherence of our communities, and that must be recognised across our public services, not just as a problem for local councils to patch and repair, but as a fundamental need incorporated into the thinking of our health service, our planning system and our approach to wider community resilience. We should be moving towards recognising community spaces, outdoor provision and voluntary sector partnerships as social statutory services. Not something we fund when we can, but something we prioritise because we understand their value. So I say to the Minister, support local authorities to think differently, but also give them the flexibility, the backing and the respect to deliver. Because the traditional model is one that often looks to a decaying past for community centres, not to a thriving future. Sometimes we have to find out where the centre of the community is and go there, rather than hope the community feel great for the centre we are telling them that they can have. We should also ensure that public toilets are included in our thinking of essential community spaces. Finally, can I say thank you to all of the volunteers who keep not just our community centres, but our communities running. Volunteers like those I spoke to in Killearn recently at their wonderful Parkinson's dance class. And perhaps unusually, can I say thank you to all of our local authority workers for all that they do for our communities. They are working under horrendously tight budgets and are doing a great job in very difficult circumstances. And finally, this government is delivering positive change in so many areas. Let's ensure our community centres are not just surviving, but thriving.